So while that last stage was drying, I've mixed some colours for the reflections in the water, and they're basically the same colours as the sky and all the background that I've already used. And then I'm going to just take a small brush, a number 4, with clean water on it, and start to wet the whole of the water area with this clean water, trying to leave a little bit of white paper at the edges to pick out where the bank meets the water. Now as I come down to the middle there, I can use a bit bigger brush. And then the first colour to put in is that nice glow that we started off with in the sky. So around the central area there, and that's Oriolin and burnt sienna. Brush that right in. And then because the top of the sky is a purple colour, that becomes the bottom of the water. So we brush that at first with just clean horizontal strokes. And now I need to start picking up some of the colours that are in the background and get them reflected in the water. So there's that nice rich green made from Oriolin, cobalt blue and raw sienna. Touch of it under the bank there as well. Really, really giving the impression that it's reflecting the colours in the bank and the background. I'm going to add a bit more raw sienna to that so it's a slightly browner green. Clean the brush, and then I want a bit of that grey colour. That was cobalt blue, rose madder and burnt sienna. The grey that I used in the distant hills. Let's get a touch of that in. More or less trying to follow the shape of the hills. Now that dark green played an important part in this, that real rich browny green. Viridian, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. So plenty of that in, right at the water's edge. I'm going to brown it even more, add a bit more burnt sienna to it. Really go to town on that because that's quite important to have that feeling of rich dark in the reflections. The same under the bank at the right hand side here. Directly underneath there's a real rich bit of dark green there, but I'm just trying to leave that little key line of white. And then I had a rich dark brown in the reflection from this stone pike. So that was ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Let's get a bit of that underneath there. And then the dark green at the shadow side of it. And then I mustn't forget the light side of it, which was just a touch of Naples yellow and rose madder. And now I'm going to get the 1/2" flat brush, make sure it's damp, not wet through, damp with clean water. And I'm just going to use this to drag it down and get this feeling of reflection. Try and keep a nice light area in the centre there. Make it look like it's really reflecting that nice warm light in the sky. Okay, we need to leave that to dry. So I'm just going to take a number 4 brush and some more of that really dark green mixture, Viridian, ultramarine and plenty of burnt sienna. And I'm just going to do a little bit of work in the reflections underneath the stone pike here to sort of just make the water look slightly rippled, like there's slight movement around the base of it. Important to have a brush with a good point for this, so you really just break it up. Bit of lighter green as well, and bring the reflections, the ripples rather, over to this left hand side. I'm going to clean the brush and get a little bit of raw sienna and burnt sienna just to give us a hint of colour on that little bit of sandy, gravelly area where it meets the water. And with a number 2 brush and some really dark brown, I'll put a few little marks in the water there to suggest the stones, little rocks and things right at the edge. And then I'm going to remove the last of the masking fluid. And you can see now why I put that masking fluid onto a wet background. I don't want a hard edge in that bottom corner, but I did want to protect it from the dark reflections. So I can now just get a number 8 brush with a bit of lemon yellow on it and really have a focus of bright light on that grass or reeds and weeds, whatever it is, right in the foreground there. And then a bit of the green, a bit of the Oriolin, cobalt blue, raw sienna, and even a bit of the real dark browny green at the very foreground there. Just touching that in with the very point of this number 8 brush, really bringing the dark forward to the foreground. And then I've got the number 2 brush again, and I'm going to get some opaque white. It's a good idea to keep opaque white out of your palette. You can be trying to get rid of it for weeks after that. So I just squeeze a bit onto the side of the paper, and I use it neat. It's only opaque when it's neat. If you put water to it, it goes like a thin grey. And I'm just going to use this for 1 or 2 highlights where the light catches the water, going over a few stones, and it creates a little bit of foam in the water in the distance there. And you shouldn't overdo opaque white, but it does have its uses. Clean that number 2 brush and pick up some shadow colour, some cobalt blue and rose madder, and let's just have a few shadows right across the path. It's quite small marks at first because they're in the distance, way into the scene. But then I can pick up a bigger brush, a number 4, and get some shadows right across the bank in the foreground, and again across the path in the foreground. Just really brings it forward, gives it a bit of life. And then I'm just softening it in, because where shadows cross grass, they're not quite as pronounced as where they cross a hard surface. And that's completed. You can see how I've simplified this scene by reducing the amount of trees and eliminating quite a lot of the detail. This really makes the stone pike the focal point of the whole picture. And don't be afraid of reflections in water. I know they can seem a bit daunting, but if you observe how the same colours are directly underneath the colours on the bank, and you use the same ingredients, you shouldn't go too far wrong. And remember, every sky doesn't have to be blue. Look how I've used a yellowy glow in the sky on this one to create a nice atmosphere, almost like a sort of afternoon winter light.
Now available on DVD. Try these techniques yourself at home whenever you wish. Today's workshop is now available to order on DVD from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.